God. Okay. What do we got here? Let's stop with that. All right, everybody. Hey, we are back from our short little break with our good buddy. If you couldn't tell from the 2 minutes before, Corey and I get along. Two cats cut out of the same type of material here. This guy is just one thing. I've seen this guy over the last 5 years really go from doing a lot of the things other investors doing, the fix and flipping, wholesaling, doing stuff like that, taking his game to a whole different level on what most people are doing and really being focused on things. And I'm so proud of him, but he's also doing a lot of things, changing his lifestyle and really designing his life of what he wants to be and wants to live. And so I was honored. He was one of the first guys that I reached out to have him speak on here on the commercial side of things, because he's just become an expert in his field. And we've both been members of a mastermind groups with people that are doing 100 plus, 200 plus deals a year. And these guys that want to turn to the multifamily, this is the guy that they're turning to, as we like to call him, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. All right. I want you to put your hands together for the big kahuna. Corey Peterson joining us today, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Hey, man. Glad to have you. So like you said, you're in Dallas up at another big apartment event right now. You've been speaking. You just got back from Europe for vacation with the kids. What else is going on, man?
Man, I'm living my best life. I mean, honestly, I love what I do. I love the apartment world. I love how it affords me a great living. I love how I get to make investors money and provide for their family as well. I'm blessed, but it was not easy. It's a journey, man. And the journey has been solid. And, there's a lot of pain in there, but it was worth it. It's been worth it.
Yeah, totally. For those that don't know Corey's background, first of all, behind every good man is an equally or better woman. Shelly is an amazing woman.
Thank you.
You had a chance to meet her. She will leave a definite mark on you in a good way, and she's just phenomenal. So when you see her next, you got to make sure to give her a big hug from Stephanie as well.
Yeah, I will.
We'll do. We usually run into each other at Traffic and Conversion Summit or some other places out there. But Corey's got some great stuff he's going to share with you today. And I don't know, are you got a speaking spot this afternoon, or are you good for an hour and 15 still?
Yeah, I don't speak till tomorrow, so I'm good, bro. I made sure.
Hey, if you want good stuff, you want to pull up your PowerPoint and dive into that, is how you want to dive into it? And you want me to say Q&A till the end for the most part?
Yeah, if they can. Yeah, it's cool. So, I'll just go through my PowerPoint, and then we can, and then we'll stop, we'll share screens, and then come back on like this.
Yeah, be perfect.
Questions. Sounds good?
Good stuff, brother.
I'm going to share my screen then with my computer sound, and we find my PowerPoint. This is a little new for me here, so I'm working from the Mac.
All right. So you got your computer, you got your PowerPoint up?
Well, I thought I did.
So at the bottom here of the Zoom screen, you should see a strip of share screen.
Yep.
So hit share. There we go. Now pick out your PowerPoint.
Hold on, let me just hit start from this slide. There we go.
Good stuff.
Rock and roll, man. So this is the magical power of raising private money. So let's just dive into it. I'm gonna play a real short video, and then I'm gonna come and deliver some magic. So let's get into it.
Corey Peterson.
Hold on. Corey Peterson is here.
People should pay attention.
And listen to Corey.
The big kahuna.
Corey Peterson is a rags to riches real estate entrepreneur and self-made multimillionaire. He's owned and operated over $95 million in commercial real estate and is on the move. As a frequently requested speaker at Harvard and NASDAQ, the best-selling author of Why the Rich Get Richer, and host of the massively downloaded Multifamily Legacy podcast, Corey teaches individuals how to escape the hustle and grind to live a life of sunsets and palm trees.
So we're on a journey today. We're going to be going to a place called Legacy Wealth. I've broken the code. I know how this thing works because I had to reverse engineer every step. My goal, why you guys are here, is to say that you guys are going to come out of this thing knowing that you're doing a deal this year.
You can tell that he's so sincere about wanting you to succeed.
He is real.
He's genuine. He's down to earth, but he's out there doing deals and making it happen.
He actually practices what he preaches.
What's inspired me about Corey is that they're creating a family business, and the legacy that we have is to share it with other people, basically impact not just our family, but other families for generations to come.
Corey Peterson, country boy, author, speaker, educator, multifamily investor, family man. Friends, please stand up and give a heartfelt welcome to the big kahuna himself, the cash flow creator, Corey Peterson.
Listen, I love playing that video because it's a true testament of the journey and all the things that you've done to put yourself in the spots to where you want to grow and make money and have a life. And I always like to start all my presentations out like, who wants a money tree? Is money actually on trees? Well, I guess if you live in Colorado, some other cities, you can. There's an herb. I guess you can say money grows on trees. But for everyone else, believe it or not, the best way to become a millionaire, according to Bloomberg, is to be into real estate. And there's lots of ways to do it. And I found this wonderful thing called apartments. And the apartment game has given me the ability to make a money tree where, people pay rent each and every month. I'm able to collect that. And I like to say apartments are kind of like a factory. The job of the factory is it takes in rent checks each and every month. It grinds it through a process, and it spits out profit out the back door. And that profit, I get to keep a lot of it, and I also get to pay my investors. And that's really what the apartment business does. I'm going to share some 6 secrets to passive income, more wealth. And really, I'm here to teach you guys. I want to tell you, I told Scott that I want to bring an amazing amount of value to you to teach you some real actionable things that you can do to raise a crap ton of money. I start out by saying, where did I start? Where did I go? Was it in this really nice house, like with a silver spoon in my mouth? And the answer is absolutely not. This is where I started. This is my old house that I grew up in West Plains, Missouri. And I just like to say that, I will never forget where I came from. Now, this is 20 years older after we left, but it was still a small little farmhouse. And the one thing about living on that farm is that, you remember when you were a kid? As a kid's mind, we used to believe and dream we could do anything. And somehow, as we get adults, what happens is we tend to let people tell us that we can't, or we're not good enough, or you name it. And the bad thing, the horrible thing, is that we start to believe them. And so I'm going to challenge you right now before we get started is to start believing and dreaming like you were a kid again, because it is there where your journey really begins. And I'm telling you this, as sure as I'm on this podcast with you guys, or this episode with you guys teaching you, I know it to be true. And you do not have to have lots of money, lots of contacts. You just have to have a strong desire and a will that you are not going to quit. And that's really the name of the game. So I went on the journey. I was able to speak at Harvard, NASDAQ. I own apartment complexes like the one in the picture, wrote a book, been on some TV. That's where my big dreams took me. But it wasn't always like that. So, because truly, 17 years ago, my life changed forever. I actually went to this wonderful island. You're seeing a picture of it right here, called Kauai. And this is really where the big kahuna was born. I had my first mentor, his name is Bruce. And I like to call him Bruce Wayne. Okay? Now, he's not Batman, but he was loaded. And you can see by that arrow pointing right down there, Bruce had a house right on the beach. And my mom just so happened to be married to him. And so my girlfriend, now wife of 17 years, going on 18, we got invited to Hawaii. And I remember coming to his house, waking up early in the morning, going over the sand berm, going into the beach, having the water come get my toes. And then we walk, it's a cove. So you walk the cove. I don't know if you can look at this picture, but a little farther down the way, there's a river that runs into the ocean. And you're like, oh, and from the mountains above, right? And if you look in that mountain, you almost look like it's a woman, right? And I remember going on the very far end of that cove, and then we watched the sun come up. And Shelly and I stood there hand in hand, and I'm telling you, we were transformed. And it was just the most magical thing ever because the light was hitting the spray from the waves, and it was just a light show paradise. And at that moment, I looked across the cove, and I saw Bruce's house. And I was like, what does this guy do? Because Bruce had the two things that I think most of us dream of, which is time and money, right? And so I asked him, I go, Bruce, what do you do? And guess what he said? He said that he was in real estate and that he owned apartments. And man, I'm telling you, it made sense to me. I'm like, dude, he's doing what I call the cash flow life. Bruce did have time and money, and I wanted it. Now, I wish the story got better, but Bruce was a prick, for a better word. He was a grumpy old man, and you know, maybe it was a trade-off. My mom was younger and pretty. Listen, that's my mom's hustle. I love her. But she got me to Hawaii. But I read that book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and as I was reading it, I thought of Bruce. Bruce was the real-life example of someone that was set free. And so I started my company in 2005, and I named it with the end in mind, and I called it Kahuna Investments because I wanted to be the big kahuna like Bruce. And so, you know, I started off as a fix and flipper, actually a wholesaler. Then I learned how to fix and flip. And really, this is the story. You know, I learned how to raise private money. And I'm going to talk about it really in detail here in a minute. But just so you can understand what it can do for you, I bought my first apartment in 2011. It was a 144 unit, $3.2 million purchase. I raised $1.4 million in private money. I sold that property 3 years ago for $8.8 million, right? For you guys doing the math, that's around $4.7 million in net profit if you look at my HUD. Oh, wait, I got it right there. I'm sorry, I was off. $4.8 million, okay? And the best part of that is that I used OPM, other people's money. Not a single dollar of my money was tied up in this deal. And so that's pretty damn cool if you ask me. And, you know, what I've learned, you know, is that the ability to raise private money is the key. I used to think that the money was in real estate, and but I know it's not true. I know the true money. So let me tell you something about the money. The money is always patient. It always gets the last look. It always negotiates out of strength. The money is not in real estate, my friends. The money, the money is in the money. So, you know, Bruce never taught me, but I want to teach you, right? And so we're going to talk about raising private money because I believe that when you can do this, you can create lots of cash flow, which can turn into legacy wealth. When you can have money coming time and time again for work done one time that you can pass on to your family. So if that's the case, we already know that real estate's it. Why do you think most people don't make it in real estate, right? I think it's because they don't have clear systems and processes and what I like to call a detailed step-by-step map. I know when I was trying to learn, you know, when there's lots of educators out there in space, but there's also a lot of bad educators out in the space or a lot of outdated material in the space that doesn't work now. And so if you get a hold of that stuff, you're like, well, this doesn't work. Well, it could be outdated, right? Because things change in real estate all the time. So I want to share with you how I first raised my first piece of private money. And you guys got to understand, like, remember that old house that I showed you? Like, I was conditioned to think about money not in a good way, as we don't have any money, don't ask for it, right? That's my background. And so, you know, I started off as a wholesaler. I was wholesaling deals, and I was starting to get pretty good at finding deals. I would go to the local RIAs, Real Estate Investors Association. I'd find people with money. And I would say, hey, listen, if you've got money, give me a $3,000 wholesaling fee, and you can have this deal. And not only that, I'll manage the work process, the fix and flip for you. And so that's what I did. I had investors in Utah, and they would fund all my deals or fund the deals. And I was in the game. I was finding deals. But man, I was like, dude, these guys are making $25,000 or $30,000 of profit, and I'm making a $3,000 wholesaling fee. Man, there's got to be a better way. I'm like, if I only had some money. And so this is how I raised my first piece of private money, and I did it by accident. I was playing racquetball with an older gentleman. His name is Carl. And Carl is actually 69 years old, and I still play racquetball with him today. And Carl lived in a retirement community. And so I'm like, okay, Carl is in a retirement community. I don't think Carl has any money. So I'm going to ask Carl for help. And that's what I did. I go, hey, Carl, listen, you're watching me wholesale these deals and make, $3,000 wholesaling fees. Do you know anybody in your community, in your retirement community, that maybe wants to get their money working a little bit harder for them? I could probably pay like 12% and give them a note and deed of trust. And Carl was like, yeah. I'll see what I can do. And really, that was that. We went on playing our second or third game. And so the next day, guess who calls me? It's Carl. And Carl was like, hey, Corey, do you still want to do that 12%? And I was like, well, yeah. And deep down, I was like, man, Carl found somebody. And Carl was like, Corey, you don't know this, but I can borrow money. My home is totally paid for, and I can borrow money at 3%. And if you pay me 12, I can make a spread. How much money do you need? Now, this is when I took a deep breath and I summoned all my strength, and I go, Carl, I need $85,000. There was a small silent pause, and he's like, yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. Where do you want me to send it? And just like that, I raised all the private, my first piece of private money. I mean, I'm telling you, my chin hit the ground. I couldn't believe it. In fact, I didn't even know what to do with it next, because I never thought that far ahead. So I was like, Carl, I need to get back with you tomorrow and find out what we need to do. Luckily, we fixed it. We figured it all out. But I equate that moment to this. Man, you got to understand, when you don't come from money, which I'm assuming a lot of us are on this call have not came from a crap ton of money. If you did, good luck, good for you, man. So you're so much ahead. But for me, I didn't. And I had a lot of baggage of things that I believed that I was not good enough. Corey, what if they know about your bankruptcy? Corey, what if they know about, the time you failed? Corey, what if they know you grew up poor? Corey, what if they know that you're a bad, you've bounced checks, come on, let's real. What if they know? And when I got that first piece of private money, it felt like, I went into the telephone booth as Clark Kent, and I come out of that thing as Superman saying, I raised private money! And listen, it broke every limiting belief that I had ever had about myself. And it felt amazing. It felt amazing. Thanks, brother. It did, man. It was great. And so what did I learn from that process? Because I raised that money totally by accident. I was just asking Carl for his help. And so this is how I've unlocked, because I went from there to, once I understood that I could do it. Man, within a year's time, I was raising $3 million worth of private money to do my single family fix and flips. And here is how I did it. I'm going to unroll it out for you guys so there's no mistake on how you do this deal. Rule number 1, write this down and underline it, circle it. You never ask people for money. You just don't. You only ask, who do you know? Okay? Let me say that again. You never ask people for money. Only ask, who do you know? Especially when you are new, my friend. And that's exactly what I did for Carl. I didn't ask Carl for his money. I asked him if he knew anybody in the retirement community. And guess what Carl did? Carl self-selected. He said, well, Corey, I'm interested in that. And I have raised, last year we raised $10 million of private money to fund $25 million worth of acquisitions in apartments. And I do it the same way every time. Every time. Now, as I've gotten a lot more seasoned, a lot more, like when people talk to me, guess what? We're talking about money, right? But in the beginning, when I was starting out, it's too much of a risk because when you don't know and people don't know that what you do, and if you start talking about money, it's too forward. Man, that's too like, what the hell are you doing? And really what you want them to do is you want them to critique your process. That is really what you do. So now let's talk about raising private money and how. So if we know private money is the name of the game, and I know it's the name of the game even in the note business, if you can get capital at a good price, it can help you in the note business because there's private money can do almost a lot for anything. So how do we have conversations about money? Well, you've got to be able to have an elevator. So when people say, hey, Corey, hey, what do you do? Hint, I'm not in real estate, okay? If you say, what do you do? I'm in real estate. I buy notes. I whatever. Great. And most people think that you're a realtor. Once you say the words real estate, they don't even hear anything else you say. They just think that you're a realtor. And they look at you funny and they turn their head like, is everything okay? Or how's the market? Like they act like you're a starving realtor, okay? That's
Amen, dude. Amen, brother. Amen.
That's the truth. It happens. And so, listen, we want to have conversations about money, right? And so you've got to have some verbiage, and I'm getting ready to give it to you, on how to address this in a way that makes us have conversations about the things that we want to talk about. So I believe that you need 2 versions of your pitch, right? Of when people say, hey, Corey, what do you do? And I believe there's a short version and a long version. The short version is used when you're in B&I groups or a quick casual or a chamber of commerce where you got 30 seconds to say, what do you do? But I think you should have a longer version when you are just sitting with someone and they say, and you have a minute or 2 to describe what you do. So let's go over these 2 things. The short version is simple. Now I'm going to use it as I'm doing apartments, but you can do it with anything. You can say, I buy notes, right? I buy cash flowing apartments. Corey, what do you do? I buy cash flowing apartments across the country that provide my investors with a solid return and a strong back end. How's the market treating you? Okay, circle, write this down. How's the market treating you? Forget anything I said in the beginning because it doesn't really damn matter. Okay, the question, my friends, the question is what matters. How's the market treating you means we're going to now have a conversation about what? About the money, about the damn money. And it doesn't even matter what they say. The market's great. The market sucks. Oh, I hate the market. What? Listen, it doesn't matter because now we're talking about the one thing that we want to talk about, which is money. And now, listen, if you are if you understand this, let's say Scott, asked me this question. I'm like, I'm going to start asking Scott what he does, or, tell me about the market. How's it treating you? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And I'll keep just being interested. And finally, if Scott's the right person, he's going to ask me the reciprocal question, which is, well, tell me more about these apartments and how you make money for investors, right? If Scott's the right person, he's going to reciprocate. If he's not, right, then we're going to move on, and I'm going to throw his card away. Not really. I'm going to keep following up with him. You follow him up till he die. But I mean, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I'm going to move on because I want to have good conversations. But most of the time, what's going to happen is Scott's going to call or start saying, well, Corey, tell me about the real estate market. And I'm going to tell him a little bit, well, here's, I buy these great apartments. I buy B and C, built in the 70s and 80s. And we're really good at operations, and we know how to run these things really efficient. And it's really about the people. And I'll have a little bit of conversations about this. And then Scott's going to keep asking questions, because usually if you know your stuff, people can sense it. They're going to keep asking questions. And my friends, this is when you engage in rule number 2. Rule number 2 is when you do the Heisman, okay? This is where most people screw it up because they want to vomit. They want to tell you all about their deal. No one cares, dude. Listen, all you're there on a first meet and greet or in a B&I situation, you just want to have a clever conversation. And then when they start asking lots of questions, this is the appropriate time to pull the Heisman. And this is when you say, Scott, hey, listen, man, I would love to answer all these questions, but honestly, this is really not the place, to go into it in detail. Hey, let's do this. Can we be intentional? And let's set up some coffee next week. And I'd love to share with you about how we provide our investors with these solid returns and strong back ends. Is that okay? And I just took a quick casual conversation to someone asking questions to saying, hey, man, listen, I really like you, but this ain't the right place to do it. Let's be intentional, right? And write that down. Let's be intentional. It's one of my favorite ways to, get people to do what I want them to do. Hey, Scott, is it okay if we be intentional? Can we be intentional? Like, let's set up coffee next week. Is that cool? And when you do it that way, and you're just in a normal conversation, yeah, man, hold on, let's grab our phones and let's calendar up. Let's do it. And now I just set an appointment, which is exactly what I want to do. And I'm sure, I know, Scott, at that point, if you teach the note business, you're going to go have a detailed discussion at that one-on-one of how the hell you do your business. And that's where you're going to do I call it your cred kit, right? We're going to talk about that here in a minute. So how's the market treating you is the most important part of that whole process, okay? So let's back up just so you can. I buy notes across the country that provide my investors with a solid return, strong back end. I buy cash flowing apartments across the country that provide. It's the same verbiage, okay? So now let's go to. So that's your short B&I version. Now let's talk about. I call this my Susie income story, and so this is when I always gauge who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to an older person close to retirement, in my mind, I think of Susie income. Or if I'm talking to a working professional, I'll come up with what I have a doctor income story. But I'm going to give you the story of Susie income. And by the way, when I think of Susie income, I actually think of a real client. Her name's LaVon. And I'm going to share LaVon's story. Corey, what do you do? I help people like Susie. Susie had been married for 35 years to her loving husband, and, they had saved some good money, and her husband was working part-time, and, all of a sudden Susie lost her husband. And the worst part was not only did she lose her husband, she lost the income that they needed that her husband provided. Susie was at her wit's end. Not only did she lose her best friend, but now she was financially just devastated and worried. But luckily, Susie knew me. And I was able to show her that she could invest with us in apartments, and we could provide her with a solid return and a strong back end that could supplement her husband's income and allow her to, put her to rest and not have to worry about how she was going to live out the rest of her retirement. That's what I do. My name's Corey Peterson, right? That's what I do. I provide my investors with I buy apartments across the country that provide my investors with a solid return and strong back end, right? How's the market treating you? And that's my Susie income story. And now, listen, the Bible talks about, like one of the best books in the world is the Bible, if we can agree to that. There's parables, and, storytelling is best done in parables or telling stories. And this is a story. And so let's break it down and understand because you can make your story. So how I broke this down is this. Number one, you want to hook someone with, like them based on a true story. Now, this is kind of like a Hollywood movie. It's based on a true story. So I told you, I think of LaVon, and now LaVon had been married for 35 years, but LaVon's husband's still alive. But in my story, because I'm telling the story, I killed him, right? Why? Because when I kill LaVon's husband, it creates a major drama event, and you got to sell people's fears, right? Pleasure and pain is what we're motivated from, and I want them to get to their emotional place when I'm telling them a story, right? And so we create the pain event. The pain for LaVon was that not only did she lose her husband, she lost the income. And let me tell you something. Every retired person's worst fear is what? Is running out of money. Why do I know this? I was a financial advisor, Series 6, Series 7's license. I know this to be true, guys. That's their worst fear. So I create that pain story on that worst fear, and then I solve the pain. How did I solve the pain? Luckily, Susie knew me, right? I was able to, usually I say I was able to double her income because we had better investments in the stock market, right? And so then you get to explain what you do, and that you're a real estate investor. You solve people's income problems, right? And so it's the same way for doctor income. Like, let me wait, hold on, a little too fast here. So my doctor income story is for the working professional, and I'm not going to tell the story. I'm just going to tell you how I frame it. Is that same person, the doctor? What are doctors, dentists, chiropractors, working professionals? They want to retire sooner rather than later because they're tired of working their job. And so I tell people the same thing as I'm able to double their income or create more income streams. And you can retire from your job when you replace your what? And they say income. And I say, yeah, that's what we do. We help doctors like you invest their money in alternatives to the stock market, like apartments, that they can get bigger checks that allow them to retire sooner so they can live the life that they want to, right? These are the stories that I tell people, and it helps me unlock the money. Now, the other part, which is the biggest thing, was how's the market treating you? And that sounds so juvenile, but I'm telling you, all it does is it creates, we get to have conversations about money. And because I don't want to talk about real estate, I don't want to talk about being a realtor, I don't want to talk about notes. I want to talk about money because I know the money is in the money. And if I can raise capital, I can help not only these people financially, but I get to help myself as well. So that's really the truth. Now, so I always say in the beginning, right, you don't feel like you have superpowers. I didn't feel like Superman when I talked to Carl. I felt scared as hell. And so who do you practice this stuff on? I always say, man, like Corey, I don't know anybody with money. You know, my family doesn't come from money. Yeah, and I said, neither did mine, but that's where I started. I started asking my friends and my family and pitching them and using these stories to them. And because eventually I got there, it's a great way. The one thing about your family is they'll always forgive you for screwing up. And so what better place to screw up on is than people that care about you, right? Because eventually you will be a superpower, right? But you have to practice, drill, and rehearse. And the reason, now, this is the truth, okay? I want you guys to hear me here for a minute, is if I look out of all the things, when I look at some guys that started in the business the same time that I did, that are still doing fix and flip stuff, right, or whatever, the reason my net worth, the reason I'm a multimillionaire and have lots of passive income and I'm living my dream life and all that stuff is because of the one thing that I made sure that I mastered the skill. And my friends, that skill is the ability to raise private money. The only thing that I've done different, because I've done it all, wholesaling, fix and flip, now apartments. But the reason I can buy multifamily investments and raise $10 million is because I focused on raising capital. And because of that, I'm a multi-millionaire and I'm living my best life. And so that is where you become that superman or woman, okay? So guys, this stuff really, really works, okay? But the trick is you got to always follow up with that question, because how's the market treating you is the diamond. That is the thing, that rock that leads to all the success story, because the power of story really does sell, okay? So what does private money do? See, I screwed this up. I got the big, it helps you buy notes, right? Private money can help you give you rehab money. It can help you create long-term rentals if you want rental properties. But at the end of the day, it's at the very bottom. When you learn how to raise private money does what you ask it to do. And so when I first raised and bought my first deal of $1.4 million that I showed you guys at the very beginning of this slides, man, I totally did it wrong. I screwed it all up. I wasn't even that smart, didn't have all the things set up. I raised $1.4 million on unsecured promissory notes. Now, let that sink in. Unsecured promissory notes. They're worth as much as the piece of paper that the note's written on, okay? That's how much collateral security the people that sent the money. Now, why did they send the money? Because, dude, when you master this game, you command capital, and they don't care, man. They trust you. This business is all about relationships and doing an integrity and doing things to protect your money, and they knew that they could trust me. So when I said jump, they jumped. They didn't. They're asking how high. Do you need me to go to the bank right now, Corey? Yes, I need you to go to the bank. Wire me the money. I'll send you the paperwork tomorrow. When you can do that, I'm telling you, that is a magical, and Scott, I know you know how to do this too. It is a magical thing. When you can command capital, dude, it is, now it's a two-edged sword. You've got to respect it. You've got to absolutely respect it and be beholden to it. But you want to talk about cool is when you say, guys, hey, I'm buying this property. I need $200,000 earnest money. Can you send it tomorrow for me? And they say, yeah, no problem. You want me to go to the bank right now? I'll do it right now. And you're like, no, you can do it tomorrow. They're like, oh, okay. Well, I just want to make sure. That's the power of relationship and truly making your investors money, right? So guys, my why, the reason I do this business and love it is for my family. I don't want to just provide income. I want to provide a legacy. My kids they're proud of our company, my business name, The Kahuna, right? And they're little kahunas, man. My little kids are little kahunas, and they're becoming teenager kahunas. And eventually they're going to run the kahuna empire. And I think they want to. Now, They don't have to, but I think they're going to. And that's legacy, guys. That's saying you stood for something, and that will go beyond you. And that's what we're talking about here. Is not the ability just to make an income, is a difference to matter and provide income for generations, right? So I want you guys to do a quick little thing. It's this little exercise, right? Because I want you to see this. Hey, number one, everybody close your eyes right now and listen to me for a minute, right? I want you to close your eyes, and when you close your eyes, I want you to envision your success. In other words, I want you to imagine that you're meeting the investor for the first time, or you're going to a BNI meeting, and it comes your turn, and you're saying your magic words, and you're talking about that you provide, you buy apartments across the country, you provide your investors with a solid return and a strong back end. You say, hey, come see me if you'd like to learn alternatives to the stock market. People come see you, they meet you, you shake hands, you have some clever conversation, you pull the Heisman, right? You set the next appointment. You go to that appointment and you're ready. You've got all your material ready, and you have that conversation. And just like I did with Carl, and at the end of the day, they say, no problem. I'd like to invest, $300,000 to $400,000 in your deal. Imagine how that would feel. And I want you you've got to envision it first. You have to see it in your mind, having them shaking their hands and smiling, and they trust you, right? Just imagine that for a minute, right? And then imagine what your life looks like. Keep your eyes closed. Imagine what your life looks like as you keep doing this time and time again, and you're building your wealth, and you're able to do these note deals or apartment deals or the single family fixed deals, and you're building legacy, and you're building wealth, you're holding stuff, and you're going on amazing vacations. You start being able to do for your family and your friends, and people see you differently now. Now open your eyes. That, guys, it's what's in your mind that counts. Nothing. You can take education courses. You can learn about this stuff till you're blue. It won't matter. It won't change a damn thing. The only thing that's going to change what you're doing now is your belief. And to get there, you have to close your eyes, and you have to see it. And you have to tell yourself daily that you're worthy. I used to close my eyes. I used to wake up in the morning, take a shower. I'd look in the mirror. I'd close my eyes. I'd be like, I'm a multifamily expert. People line up to give me their money because I know how to make it grow. And I said that time and time, and I said it when I didn't believe it was true. But I knew that I had to tell myself, I had to convince myself that I was worthy of getting money. And eventually, guys, guess what? It happens. It absolutely happens. Now, I truly believe that most of you, most of us, just like me, is you need a roadmap. You got to know what's the step one, step two. I've given you guys a couple little pieces of my deal of how I do it, but I'm actually going to give you a lot more, because I feel like everybody, to be successful, needs a proven roadmap that didn't work yesterday or 5 years ago, that works today. And I would like to give that to you, and I'm going to make it really cool. But I got to tell you the story first, okay? So if you guys don't know anything about me, you got to understand that I came from a poor family. I think you sent that by the picture of my house. My dad was a roofer. I don't know about you guys and how you feel about your parents, but for me, my dad was a Greek god. A Greek god in my eyes. I'm telling you, when I was a little kid, 5 years old, I'd look at my dad, and my dad he was a roofer. He was tan. He had wild dark brown hair and a wild beard, and he was 6 foot, and he had big shoulders, and he was just a Greek god in my eyes. All I ever wanted to do was be like that. And I wanted to go and roof with my dad. So I would beg my dad to go roofing. And so 5 years old, Dad says, come on, son, let's go. So we wake up early, we get to a job site, and we get on the roof. And I swear to you, this is where my dad did his best teaching. So he gets me up on the roof. I'm a 5-year-old boy, and he gets on one knee, looks me straight in the eyes. He goes, son, today's going to be a lot of work. And here's what we do when we have hard work in front of us. We're going to make work a game. And the game that we're going to play today is who can get to the top of the ridge first, right? Because there was another roofer on the other side of the house. And, dude, that's all I needed as a young boy. I'm like, Dad, let's go. Because my job as a young boy was to take the shingles and unstick them and break the shingle bundles and unstick them and lay them out for my dad so my dad could take his pneumatic nail gun and go pop, 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 pop. Line it up, pop, 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 pop. Line it up, pop, 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 pop. And, dude, that's what we did. We went up that roof so fast, I'm telling you. And we didn't win by just a little. We won by a lot. And the next thing that my dad did has really taught me everything about the man I am today. Because we could have sat at the top of the ridge and basked in our glory because we did our half. But my dad looked at me and said, son, let's go jump on the other side and let's go help that other roofer bring all his shingles to the top. And that, my friend, is what we did. My dad taught me humility. Even though we won the day, it was to have humility to say we're not that good. Let's go help our fellow man. Let's help him because he's trying to get to the top too. Let's reach out a hand. And that's, I mean, at a young age, at a 5 years old boy, what a great lesson to learn to help your fellow man, right? So number one, make work a game. The second thing my dad taught me, my dad, I don't know if you guys, so my dad at the age of 18 was, he got drafted by the Cleveland Indians. He was a baseball player. Unfortunately, he got taken out at home plate, had back surgery, and he's a roofer, my gosh. But even though he had back surgery, my dad never lost love for the game, and he was my coach when I was a young kid. And my dad would say, son, when you go up to bat, swing for the fences, son. Swing for the fences. Do not ever be ashamed. Do not ever hold back. Give it all you have in life. Swing for the fences, son. But, son, when you do that, a lot of times, and more often than not, you're going to strike out. You're going to fail. And when that happens, what you do next is everything. Collect yourself, son. Don't make a show of it. Get your bat and start hustling back to the dugout. But as you're on your way to that dugout, out of the corner of your eye, look that pitcher, man. Look that pitcher right in the eye and say, you may have got me today, but my friend, I'm going to get you tomorrow. I will be relentless. I will not stop. I will keep improving my craft, and I will best you one day, my friend. I will hit that ball out of the park. Swing for the fences. The problem with most people is they think too damn small, and they don't think big enough. Get your head out of the gutter, guys. The world will give you what you ask for, but you got to ask, and you got to believe that you can do it. So swing for the fences. The third thing that my dad taught me, son, no matter what in life, hustle. If a coach would say, son, or, hey, you guys need to run around that tree. He's like, you better be first, son. The only way you're not first is if someone physically beats you. Because I'm telling you right now, hustling is a mental thing, and most people are not prepared mentally. Hustle in everything you do. Because listen, in life, no one cares. You've got to hustle to make the money. No one gives a crap about all the things you don't have. You've got to wake up and make your meal today, my friends. It is not given to you. So hustle in everything you do. So those three things to recap: make work a game, swing for the fences, and hustle in everything you do. And I hope those things right there, my friends, will change. It's the code that I live by. And hopefully it will change your life. But honestly, just like my dad taught me how to jump on the other side of the fence, right? I want to jump on the other side of the fence for you. I want to give you my RPM course for free. Okay, I just give it up. I'm giving it to you for free, guys, right? I charge $1,000 for it, $197 for scripts, my high-end credibility kit, my marketing packets, the pieces that I use to raise a crap ton of marketing, my strategies on where to find the money, my private money program. It's like $6,000, 5,688. But I've never forgot where I came from. I've never been afraid to jump on the other side of the fence and help my fellow man. And Scott was nice enough to let me teach and tell you guys some stories. And so I just want to give it to you guys for free. There is no charge. There's no nothing. But I'm telling you, this is my best course that I have. It is modules, set up, step 1, step 2, step 3. There are like 5 to 10 minute videos. It's very concise. It is specifically made to not only help you with multifamily deals, also we have a single family track. It can easily translate to private money and notes. It works. More importantly, it works, right? So to get it, text RPM to 480-500-1127. That's my gift to you because Scott's a cool cat, and I just want to help you out, right? It's everything that I've learned on truly how to raise a crap ton of money. So there is no reason to bang your head and feel like a loser when you could feel like Superman. There's no strings attached. Guys, it is a full-blown course. I just want to give it to you free. Promise me that you use it. Tell Scott how good it is and give him some great stories on how you raised a crap ton of money to do note deals, because I know it helps when you can raise private money. I just want to let you guys know that Corey Peterson is nothing special, okay? There's me and my wife. You know, I barely made it out of high school, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Talk out the side of my mouth, and I'm fluffy, okay? But let me tell you, I can still make it rain, guys. I can still make it rain, right? So that's all I got. Scott, if you want to unshare, stop the share, text RPM to the number, and let's take Q&A.
Yeah, good stuff. Oh, hang on here. Good stuff there. Great offering, man. I appreciate you sharing that for everybody here in the group. It's awesome stuff here. Wow. Let's see. Wiley says thanks. Jack DeWeese says thanks, Corey. All these things you talked about, Corey, are like you said, completely applicable across different real estate aspects. But like you said, we're not in the real estate business because they think you're a realtor. You're in your capital raising. You're in the I raise money for projects or doing it. I mean, commercial or I'm raising capital or raising money for projects. One of the things that I love to do in my short 30-second speech, but it's so much of that is just getting out and talking to people. And so many people are scared of their own shadow that it's difficult, right?
Yeah. You know, one of the things I meant to say to you is we provided an alternative to the stock market. We say that a lot. I say that a lot. When I talk with money, like, what do you do? Man, I provide investors with an alternative to the stock market.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, we buy apartments. They're like, oh, tell me how that works. And, that's a really nice way to segue into that too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody wants to be an investor. That's the thing people don't realize. Everybody wants to be it, but a lot of people don't, they don't want to get into it because they're scared of their own shadow, which is sad. So,
yep. And here's the crazy part. There is so much money, and you know this, Scott. There is so much money out there looking for deal makers, people like us that know how to take capital and make it work, And so there's a never-ending stream of money. And most people's money is parked in their IRA with some broker. And it's the only place where millionaires will come take advice from kids that are making $60,000 because he passed a test, a broker. They're broker than the guys that are coming in the door.
Well, the thing is, and this is what I say being an ex-mortgage broker, an ex-financial advisor for a bank, is they actually are one of the greatest brainwashers out there, right?
Yeah.
0 to 4 say 8 to 12, 4 to 8 is okay, 8 to 12 is risky, and we both know that's not the case. But it doesn't stop them from selling that stuff, and that's where a lot of people don't realize is that their safe is helping them get broke faster.
Yes, straight up. And so I find when we compete with stock market or IRAs, man, we can win. We can tell a legitimate story to at least enough to create a relationship. Because most people don't say, oh, well, here's $500,000. They're like, well, what's your minimum, right? And so now the other thing about minimums, make sure you say 100, even if you'll take 50, right? Ask for 100s, you'll get 100s. Ask for 50s, you'll get 50s, right? Mm-hmm. And then the ones that don't have 100, they might say, well, I don't have 100. Well, how close to 100 can you come? Well, I got 80. Well, I might be able to take 80, right? But it's not 50. So challenge that, right?
That's the truth. That's such a very, very important truth out there for everybody to realize that you're going to get what you ask for. But, hey, when people ask me all the time, like, well, we'd like to try 200 and we get hundreds, or we ask for 100, we get, we try to get that aspect of what we can. But the thing is, biggest thing I do when you bring the capital is you don't want to take somebody's last 2 nickels or last $5,000, $10,000 to rub those together to do something.
Oh, no. They're the wrong people.
They're the wrong people, exactly. Hugely the wrong people.
Yeah, majority of the time. And usually, a lot of times, and really it's about the bankers. So listen to your bankers sometimes. They always talk about, let's start a relationship. I love how bankers say it. But I use the same words now. Hey, listen, let's just start a relationship. But because they're conditioned by everybody else to start a relationship. And then what does that mean? They already know. Give me some of your money. Give me $100,000. Let me work it. Let me show you how that we give it back to you with some interest. And then because everybody has a lot more money. No one tells you what they got. Just like Carl. Carl didn't tell me his home was free and clear, but he had it, And that's how all investors are. They never tell you their full story. But they always got more, and they always know friends that have money that are just like them.
Such a true point, because it's all, if you do the indirect route, it takes away being in front of somebody. Hey, what do you have? Hey, do you know anybody that's such a soft close that if it's something that makes sense, then they'll be the first one to say, well, what about me? What can I do? Yeah,
and here's another tip for everybody too. It's like when you start, like once you get somebody's money, and when you're getting ready to go pay them off, or you give them a check or whatever, say, hey, listen, I got your check. Let's go out to dinner. Why don't you bring a couple of your buddies to dinner too? Right? And so then you got them and their buddies, and then you present them with a check. And listen, all you do is shut the hell up, let them do all the talking, and then at the end of the day, you pay for the check, right? And then you go to your buddy and you say, how much money did we raise? And he'll tell you. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's so the truth there. Questions for Corey out there, everybody. You guys are loving the stuff they gave. Donna wants to know what's your website. You have a website, Corey?
KahunaWealthBuilders.com.
Yeah. And then the opt-in once again.
We have a podcast, so Multifamily Legacy Podcast. We teach. That's a good place to get a lot of, if you like multis. Multifamily Legacy Podcast is a great place to get fed. We have 86 episodes right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one there for you. What are the questions you have for Corey? So how many, you guys just closed on a property just recently though, didn't you? Just yesterday or the day before?
Oh, no, we're doing our due diligence. So that was, it's an $11.2 million deal in Weatherford, Oklahoma. We're going to raise $5.5 million for that project. And it's going to be a great asset for us. Last year we closed $25 million in apartments, raised over $10 million of monies. And so it's just, this year's a little bit slower. It's a little harder to find deals right now. We're not on pace with what we did last year. We're okay with that. The job's to find needles in the haystack.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that here, kind of what you're doing to find some of your deals?
Yeah. So one of the things we use to do deals, is you got to underwrite. So one of the things we do is we opt into, like the markets that we like, we will opt into every broker's subscription. And they'll send us their deals. And there is no magic to this. You just have to do the work. So we have to underwrite. I mean, last year we underwrote 745 deals, like full, we call it a Wall Street grade financial underwriting. Like we put the work in to try to understand the deals. And out of that, we bought 6 and my group bought 6. I bought 3 of the 6. And, that's not a great conversion, but it's the right conversions. Because the 6 that we got are sweet. We're making money on all of them. But it's really about broker relations. I would tell you 99.9%, if you can get some good broker relations, but you don't get that until you get on their subscription, but you've got to call them and give them feedback, and start having those calls. And then more importantly, here's another thing that I do is, what do you do for fun? Write that down and underline it. When you're talking with brokers and you got to be able to say, hey, what do you do for fun? You got to talk about anything other than real estate, or you do not have a relationship. You have a business relationship, but we want to get past just the crap. You want to be able to talk about their friends, their family, their dogs, golf, football, because now that becomes your open. Anytime you call them, like how friends do, like we just did when we talked, we didn't talk about, hey, how's the note business? We talked about travel and some other stuff. And then you get to the business. That's how it works, guys. That's real relationships. And when you have that, so one of the easiest ways to do this, what do you like to do for fun? And they'll give you clues. And then just make sure that you like it. Because like, if you say I like to golf, I mean, I hate golf. You know? I'm like, well, what else do you like to do? I mean, I can relate to it in the fact that, man, I love the views from the course, so that's about it.
Well, I always like to say, yes, I drink cold beer.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I like that too. What's your favorite, you know, and whatever, you know, or the point is, it's relationship based. The thing in multifamily, and probably even in your note business, is it really is old school. Raising money is old school. It's relationships. Finding deals with brokers is old school. It's relationships.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is we were talking about with somebody earlier about finding brokers and then just following them. I mean, you said it yourself. You guys looked at 700 different deals. You know, about a 1% close ratio. But a lot of people think it's the other way around. Oh, I'm just going to make an offer on one or two deals and I'm going to get those things. And that's never the case, right?
No, you really got to kiss a lot of frogs, man. And if you're not willing to, then you're going to make mistakes. And you just have to, like, it's the process. And then trust your process and don't bend it. Don't bend your underwriting to chase a deal. You never chase a deal. And, you know, because it's really easy to fall in love with a property, but like that's the wrong way to do it. We just fall in love with the numbers.
That's exactly right. Now, are you guys buying most of your stuff in primary markets or a lot of secondary markets?
Tertiary markets for sure, right? So really not even some secondary markets, but tertiary markets as well. Like Weatherford's a tertiary market. There's nothing in Weatherford except for this college, but it's going to be a sexy deal for us, and like it's the only student housing in town, so we have no competition. It's right next to the school, which is what we want, and the school size is smaller, but it's enough to fill up our bedrooms. You know, last year was 95%. We'll keep it there, and we'll improve inefficiencies, right? And that's really what we do a lot of times in our student housing deals. But our biggest thing for student housing is proximity to college. If we're not right next door, we're really not interested.
That's
right?
A good
because we see that even that marketplace starting to contract. People are not sending their kids to college as much, or it's not as important. And so if you're on the fringes of student housing, on the outskirts of, you know, farther away from the college, you're gonna get hit. But if you're right next to the college, you're never going to get hit. It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm. That's some good words of advice out there for everybody. What are you speaking on this weekend up in Dallas? Are you doing the same presentation or doing something different?
Yeah, I'm speaking. Well, a little bit different. So the one thing about when I do raise private money is my structure. So I'm able to do a little something different than the standard in the industry. We raise money at what I call a 6 and 6, which is it's a 6% pref, and then upon sell or refi, we give another 6% annualized. And so my investors will only make 12%. And so where the industry standard is they're doing these 70-30 splits, which equate to like a 20% return, 20% plus to the investor. Well, I've never conditioned my investors to ever think 20 is the natural. It's very unnatural, right? So I sell on 6%, just like the brokers, just like I was taught. You sell income first. Like I can double your income. It's 6%. That's a check. And my other 6% is the carrot. And I that's how I talk about it. It's like it's carrot. And when you get it together, that's 12. But in my industry, for this industry, right now, most of these guys are doing 75-25 splits. And what that really means, and here's another thing, Scott, because the way I set up my deal is I do a 50-50 split. So only thing I split 50-50 is the depreciation with the investor. Okay? Now, my other guys are getting 75-25, so they're only getting 25% of the depreciation. The way I'm doing it, I'm getting 50, right? I've even thought about making it 60-40 in my favor. Like, just to let you guys understand, I'm in business for Corey Peterson.
Yep.
Corey Peterson is who wants to make lots of money, and I need to provide my investors with a solid return. Not a stupid return, a solid return. And I find when I compete with the stock market, 12% is still considered speeding.
Yep.
And so at 12, so that's why I don't even say 12. I say 6 and 6, because 6% in my, old guy that wants income, that's standard. That sounds safe. And then the other 6 is a carrot. They're not counting on it, right? Even though that we deliver it almost every time, right? And so, but it's perception. It's how you structure deals. And that alone is, for most, it's an 8-point swing, which can, that's a big difference. So Corey Peterson knows how to do fewer deals, make a crap ton more money, and live my sunsets and palm trees life, where everybody else is running around with their head cut off.
Well, but it's also it gives you a lot of flexibility there too in the front end. If you're coming in and taking over properties, you don't have huge payouts on the front end. It reduces it out there for you. Correct?
Yeah, and I still take a 4% acquisition fee. Why? Because can.
Yep.
Because see, I've always learned that you make a deal conform. I set my standard, then I make my deals work for me. And if they don't meet all these boxes, then it's not a go deal. But if it does, then I'll do the deal.
That totally makes sense there.
Right? And so, yeah. I mean, I love this business, man. It's a great business.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. So everybody, once again there, for those that are listening to this as a future podcast, you pull out your cell phone, and the phone number is 480-500-1127, 480-500-1127, and text the word RPM to that phone number, 480-500-1127. You'll get all of Corey's stuff there. Just a ton of amazing goodies there, Corey. Thank you so much for sharing all that stuff with our people here at Notes.
Thank you for having me on, man. Pleasure, brother.
Pleasure as always. Well, I will let you get going because it's almost 5 o'clock. It's about beverage 30 there, isn't it?
Yep, it's beverage 30, brother.
All right, man. Well, hey, you guys have a safe trip back to Arizona when you head out, and thanks so much for sharing your stuff today. All right.
Rock and roll, brother. Thanks a lot, man.
See you later. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this session of Note Camp Commercial. What we're going to do now is let you guys take a quick, take about a 20-minute break, relax, grab a cup of coffee, a glass of water, because we've got Scott Myers coming up on next with self-storage investing. You're going to love it. He has to share too. So excited to wrap up the first day with 2 double barrels blast from Corey Peterson and Scott Myers back-to-back for you guys. You guys are in for a treat. Thanks, Corey.